What up, y'all? So I found another Wade Wilson video that came out not too long ago that I haven't really seen anybody react to. So, I'm going to be the first one right here. I'm going to react to it. This is Wade Wilson's prison treatment shocks everyone. And this is by Anna Horror Stories. So shout out to them. This video has been out 12 days and has 128K views. So hopefully it's a banger. Let's go. I don't know when they say Wade Wilson's prison treatment shocks everyone. I don't know if they're coming at the angle like his treatment's too harsh and it should be lesser, or if they're coming at it from the angle, which I'm starting to lean towards, that he's getting a bunch of stuff that he shouldn't. I don't know, but we're going to find out. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I hope everyone is doing blessed. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And let's get right into this reaction. I got a bunch of dope content coming at y'all this weekend. Me and Casper are supposed to be doing a collaboration later today. So if that happens, we'll have even more dope content. And also got some content releasing over on Pino's channel. And have some work being put in over at We Love Hip Hop as well. And as always, you can find me over here every single day. I'm releasing content, sometimes more than one piece a day. So throw your boy a subscription, cancel your Netflix. Let's get right into this reaction video. Let's go.
I tried to come see you to tell you what I had done.
Yeah, but did you kill the second girl at that point?
No, I think I killed her later.
Wade Wilson is accused of viciously murdering Ruiz and Melton last October. Less than a year later, he faces new charges. Deputies say last night Wilson tried to break out of the jail through a window.
There have been very few sadistic criminals in recent years who are more notorious than Wade Wilson, also known as the Deadpool Killer. Wade brutally killed 2 women and then later confessed to the murders in horrific, gory detail. Since his arrest in 2019, following the murders, Wade has remained behind bars living in horrifying and sometimes appalling conditions.
But I'm never going to see you again now.
You can,
everything going for you.
baby, will you please see me again? This is going to ruin my life if you never see me again, please.
Your life is ruined, Wade. What do you not understand?
Your life
But
is
if I have you in my, at least if I have you in my life, I won't feel like it's over.
The treatment he has experienced at the hands of both other prisoners and prison staff may shock you to your core.
Are we watching a pro Wade video right now? That I'm getting nervous.
Wade Wilson's shocking criminal history. Let's start by going back to October 6th, 2019, when this insane and heart-wrenching tale began. Wade Wilson.
I just want to say, Florida looks so nice. Everywhere, I know this is off topic, but I'm just let you in on how my brain works. Everywhere along the coast looks so nice, right? And listen, I've spent a lot of time in Cuba with family and stuff like that on the coast. All I could ever think when I'm on the coast is like a really big tsunami or like wave comes right now, I'm dead. So I'm like an inland person. I live on an island, so there's water all around me, but inland, up the St. Lawrence, no tsunamis.
Then just 25 years old, walked into a live music bar in Cape Coral, Florida. It was at that bar that he would end up hitting off with a 35-year-old woman named Christine Melton. Wade would end up accompanying Christine home that evening. She had no idea that the man she was cozying up with would strangle her to death in her sleep while inside her own home the following day. Wade had no motive. He just killed for the sake of killing, and he was far from being done. Later that same day, he encountered a 43-year-old woman named Diane Ruiz. Diane was a bartender and mother of 2 who was walking to work. Driving Christine's stolen car, Wade approached Diane under the pretense of seeking directions. After she entered the vehicle, Wade strangled her, and upon realizing she was still alive, ran her over multiple times until he was sure she was dead.
Had driven over her repeatedly and tried to make her look like spaghetti.
That's how the state in opening statements described the bodies of Melton and Ruiz, found dead.
I think Wade was dumb enough. He's like, maybe if I run her over enough times, nobody will know what it is. And I mean, he had to have run her over a lot because he just did it in some parking lot that people use, from what I understand, and it took them days to find her. Right? So you got to ran over someone pretty good. I think he really thought he could do it enough where no one would know what it was. And they would think maybe it was an animal or something. Honestly, just the thought of that is horrendous, man.
In 2019, Melton in her Cape Coral home and Ruiz in a field. Surprisingly, the defense chose not to speak.
Wade was arrested and charged with both murders the following day. He showed no remorse and told detectives, "I would do it again." 5 years after the brutal murders, Wade finally went to trial. By this point, Wade had already become quite famous through social media, not only for the murders, but for sharing a name with the Marvel character. During the time he had spent behind bars, Wade took on an even more unique and terrifying appearance.
Since his 2019 arrest, Wilson is now sporting a heavier and even more menacing tattooed look. In his first mugshot, Wilson donned various neck tattoos, as well as a tattoo under his chin in bold capital letters as it reads, "Bred for War." Then, during a court appearance in 2019, Wilson appeared with a shaved head and a large swastika tattoo on the right side of his head. In a 2023 mugshot, Wilson appeared with his hair grown out, covering the swastika tattooed on his head. But this year, in an earlier 2024 court appearance, Wilson appeared in court with a new set of face tattoos. While his hair now covers the swastika on his face, he's since emerged with a smaller swastika under his right eye.
This was not a man for whom most juries would probably have a lot of sympathy. However, nobody knew quite what to expect. Of course, the evidence against Wade was overwhelming. Not only had he already confessed to law enforcement, but he had also called his father and confessed to what he had done. In fact, it was his father who ultimately turned him into law enforcement. In court, Wade's father admitted that he believed his son would target someone else if he were not stopped.
How did you feel about turning him into law enforcement?
I initially wanted to help him.
Did you feel conflicted about giving him over to law enforcement initially?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point when you're talking with him, did that feeling change?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I just thought, what if that was my mom or my daughter or sister or wife? I would want somebody to do that.
And did you have additional concerns?
And I truly believed he stopped it. He stopped Wade from being a serial killer that night. Like, there would have been more. There would have been more. If it weren't for Steve turning him in, or even those people in that house he broke into just having been gone, there would have been more. If he was let loose longer, there would have been more, 100%. And so we're really lucky that Steve did what he did. Because it's not even that a lot of parents wouldn't have done that. I think most would have. But I think some parents might have been conflicted for a little bit longer in figuring out what to do. And that would have been enough time for him to get 1, 2, 3, who knows how many more people. So shout out to Steve for that. I still think Steve does a bit too many interviews and sucks up a bit too much of the clout. But you can't, that's more my personal thing. I wouldn't do that in his case. But aside from that, I think he's been a pretty good example, like a pretty stellar example of who to be in a situation like this, which we don't see very often with the cases we're covering, Anyways, let's go.
Concerns of what might happen if you didn't turn him into law enforcement.
Yes, ma'am.
What was that, sir?
He would have done it again.
Also, during court, Wade Wilson's shocking prison phone calls revealed confessions about the murders. The callous way he talked about his victims was shocking.
What's going on? How did this happen? How did this happen?
I don't know,
How did
dude.
you do this? How? Let's tell me. I want answers.
You want answers? Well, remember when I went to that dude's house or whatever?
Well, then tell me what happened then. I just listened.
Killed
Why, Wade? Why?
because we went to this dude's house, Mila, and remember when he kept showing us the pictures? Oh, I got this, or whatever.
Yes.
So I went to his house and I did a lot of it. Like, he was giving me a lot, and I was doing a lot of.
Why did you kill the girl?
Huh?
Why did you kill that girl?
I shouldn't have.
A confession straight from the
He's
lips
innocent,
of
guys,
convicted
remember.
killer Wade Wilson, who admitted to both murders he's now convicted of long before a verdict ever came in.
He seemed to be in deep denial about the fact that his life was forever changed and he would never be a free man again.
But I'm never going to see you again now.
You
I
can,
had everything going for you.
baby, will you please see me again? This is gonna ruin my life if you never see me again, please.
Your life is ruined, Wade. What do you not understand? You can't.
Yeah, but if I have you in my, at least if I have you in my life, I won't feel like it's over.
That's his concern.
Wade Wilson faces justice.
It's all about Wade.
It was obvious that Wade Wilson was a sociopath and that he felt no
And I can't lie, this lawyer here, I love how this lawyer hates him so much, clearly. And just like when he like whispers in his ear, gives him like looks like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, yeah, like treats him exactly how he should be treated.
remorse for the crimes he had committed. The verdict came down on August 27th, 2024. Wade showed no emotion or reaction as it was read.
We, the jury, finds as follow as to the defendant in this case. Count 1, first-degree murder, Christine Melton. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2, grand theft motor vehicle. The defendant is guilty of grand theft motor vehicle. Count 3, battery. The defendant is guilty of battery. Count 4, first-degree murder, Diane Ruiz. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
Ultimately, Wade was found guilty on all charges. The jury recommended that he receive the most severe sentence possible, and Judge Nicholas Thompson agreed.
Under the totality of the circumstances and evidence, the court finds no basis to override the jury's verdict. The totality of the circumstances warrants that the defendant, Wade Stephen Wilson, be sentenced to death for each count of first-degree murder. Accordingly, it is ordered and adjudged that the defendant, Wade Stephen Wilson, be sentenced as follows. Count 1, first-degree murder of Christine Melton. The defendant is hereby sentenced to death.
Just like that, Wade Wilson had found himself on death row. Wade Wilson begins serving out his sentence. After sentencing, Wade was transferred to the Union Correctional Institution in Rayford, Florida, which houses 274 death row inmates. This is the place where Wade will likely live out his days while waiting for the date of his execution. That day could come days from now, years from now, or even decades from now. In the majority of cases, it is pretty typical to spend decades waiting on death row. Since Wade was only sentenced to death 3 months ago, he likely will have a long time to wait. Every day he will wake up wondering when his last day on earth will come. He will spend each of those days in a small cell. At the Union Correctional Institution, death row cells are extremely tiny. They measure only about 6 by 9 feet. It's hard to imagine spending 24/7 in a place as hopeless, claustrophobic, and depressing as this one.
We're here for sentencing. Was there anything?
We better not start talking about in this video like he deserves anything but that for what he's done. Like, I do agree the way they treat a lot of prisoners, especially in the US, is awful when you compare it to what crimes they've actually done. But in Wade's case, I don't want to start hearing a bunch of sympathy for him, man. Especially when we have calls where he talks about how being in his prison cell is the most established he's ever been and how he has stuff going on. Like, his conditions aren't that bad.
Anything else that the court needed to address prior to sentencing?
Okay.
All right. So I have considered all of the testimony and evidence, arguments of counsel, applicable case law, and statutes. I have prepared a written sentencing order, which I'll file contemporaneously with the pronouncement of the sentence here today.
During his incarceration, Wade Wilson will be isolated from not only other inmates, but from the vast majority of other people, except for a few rare exceptions. The only times he might get the luxury of experiencing human interaction could be during medical appointments, legal visits, and occasional social visits. Wade will get 3 meals a day, each of which will be delivered to his cell. He won't have the luxury that other non-death row inmates have, which is sharing meals with other inmates in the dining hall. Inside Wade's cell, things will be kept pretty bare. He has a thin mattress that will serve as a bed and a metal toilet and sink that will be welded to the wall. He will get no privacy and can be expected to be watched by prison staff pretty much around the clock. His daily life will be extremely regulated. It will be full of things like hourly inmate counts, limited privileges like mail and a small TV, and restricted movement outside his cell. Wade Wilson's criminal activities while in custody. Even though Wade Wilson just received his sentence only 3 months ago, he's been behind bars since first committing the murders back in 2019. During his time in incarceration, he's hardly been on his best behavior. In fact, he even managed to land himself in extra legal trouble during his time behind bars. One of the most infamous stunts this killer pulled was a chaotic, and creative escape attempt back in 2020. At the time, Wade was still waiting to go on trial.
The man accused of murdering 2 women in Cape Coral just tried to escape from jail, but Wade Wilson didn't get too far. Thanks for watching NBC2. I'm Peter Bush.
And I'm Kelly Burns. Wilson is accused of 2 brutal murders in Cape Coral almost a year ago to the day. Police say Wilson went on a drug-fueled killing spree, murdering 2 women in 48 hours.
So how exactly did Wade try to pull off the escape? Well, he had some help from his cellmate, 30-year-old Joseph Katz. The plan involved attempting to break through a window in their 10-foot by 10-foot cell and escape the facility where they were being housed.
Tonight, Wilson, along with his cellmate Joseph Katz, are in even more trouble. Reports say they tried to smash through a window and break out of jail.
There were obviously a lot of problems with this plan. First of all, even if Wade and Joseph...
Yeah, I was going to say, from what I understand, they attempted to do this, but they didn't. I don't even think they got the window broken open. Like, I don't think they were anywhere near close to actually escaping. They did try, though.
If Katz were able to break out of their cell, there would still be tons of other security measures they would have to cross to get out of jail altogether. By the time that the jail staff realized that they were no longer in their cell, the whole facility would have gone on lockdown, and it would be next to impossible for the pair to make it all the way out of the building, much less past the security fencing that surrounded the jail. But that wasn't the only major problem that they had with their grand escape plan. The other problem was that they weren't able to keep it a secret. They talked about their plan in front of other inmates, and one of those inmates ended up going to the jail staff.
Wade Wilson is accused of...
Wade couldn't keep his mouth shut. I didn't know that part, but not surprised at all.
Viciously murdering Ruiz and Melton last October. Less than a year later, he faces new charges. Deputies say last night, Wilson tried to break out of the jail through a window. Last night, Wade Wilson, who faces 2 first-degree murder charges, and his cellmate, Joseph Katz, tried to pull a get-out-of-jail-free card.
The window in particular in question, they started to remove some of the weather stripping, okay, and they started to work on that window with a couple of bolts.
The window that Wade and Katz had planned to try to escape from was nothing like the typical windows you would see on most homes and buildings. It was reinforced by thick security glass, making it virtually impossible to break without heavy-duty tools, none of which either of them had. By the time that the jail staff received word about the escape plan, they went immediately to Wade and Katz's cell to make sure it was secure. The only signs of a possible escape attempt that they could find were visible on the metal frame surrounding the window, which had been removed. There were also a few cracks within the glass of the window itself.
There was no way to get through that window physically, even if it was open, okay? Furthermore, we have a series of layers after that they would have to penetrate to get out, and that's not happening.
The attempt to flee his prison cell.
I mean, realistically, they couldn't even keep their mouths shut. They got it wasn't even all those security systems that you needed. You just needed one rat in the dorm and they got caught. It doesn't even, they removed the weather stripping. It doesn't even sound like they got much done. They bashed around to the window for a while and removed the weather stripping. I don't think they were going anywhere, even if they kept their mouths shut.
Cell comes almost 1 year exactly after Melton and Ruiz were found dead. Diane's boyfriend can vividly remember.
October 7th was the day he killed her and she became missing. So I'm not looking forward to that day.
Wade's attempt to escape jail earned him additional charges before he had even gone to trial. The charges included attempted escape and criminal mischief. But this wasn't the end of the trouble that Wade got into while behind bars.
A double murderer accused of trying to deal meth. Wade Wilson pleaded no contest to 2 charges this morning linked to drug trafficking. Wilson was sentenced to death earlier this week for killing 2 Cape Coral women in 2019. Wink News reporter Olivia Jean joins us live at the Lee County Courthouse. Olivia, the plea hearing was supposed to be next month. Why did they move it up?
Amanda, that's a great question. After the hearing this morning, state attorneys told me that they moved the hearing to today so that Wade Wilson can go to death row quicker. So now there are no more pending charges and Wilson could go to death row anytime. Now, as part of the plea, his charges for the attempt to escape prison in 2020 were dropped.
In August...
do you see how she did that? Explain to me why the mainstream media still does this. Where, like, when one person asks a question to a reporter in the field, there's, like, this is how they answered. She's like, okay, so what did Wade do? They're like, so Wade Wilson did. It's like, yo, it's 2024. Okay, you literally here have a cell phone in your hand. So like, if you see, hold on, where put her little hand up or whatever. She got a cell phone in this hand. She holds it up a few times. Y'all can rewind around and find it. But we have instantaneous communication technology. When I call someone on a cell phone, the signal from the phone to the satellite to them is so quick, even when they're on the other side of the world. There's no delay. It's not like I have to wait it's an unperceivable amount of time that the delay is. So I don't understand why the mainstream media is still acting like it's 1980 and they need to pause for a second to get everything in line and catch up. This is why y'all are dying. You don't need to do that. Stop doing it.
Move it up.
Amanda, that's a great question. After the hearing this morning, state attorneys told me that they moved the hearing to today so that Wade Wilson can go to death row quicker. So now there are no more pending charges and Wilson could go to death row anytime. Now, as part of the plea, his charges for the attempt to escape prison in 2020 were dropped.
In August 2024, just a couple of days after Wade Wilson had been sentenced to death for the 2019 murders of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz, he was in court to be sentenced for charges related to attempted drug trafficking while behind bars. In 2023, Wilson survived a drug overdose at the Lee County Jail. This led to an investigation by the Lee County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, and that's how we got the Ballad of Bonnie.
This probe uncovered a conspiracy to traffic illegal drugs into the facility, leading to charges against Wade and 4 other people. Wade pleaded no contest to 1 count of attempted trafficking in amphetamine, or methamphetamine, and 1 count of conspiracy to traffic in the same substances. He received concurrent 12-year prison sentences for each count, along with a $50,000 state fine, court costs, and other fees. These sentences are to be served concurrently with his existing death sentences. Wade Wilson's insane attention from the public. Ever since Wade Wilson was first arrested, he's received an incredible amount of attention from the public. Shockingly, a lot of that attention has come from adoring fans from all over the world who have been following along with his story. To these people, it doesn't seem to matter that Wade is a brutal killer who brutally killed 2 innocent women. Not only have some of these fans expressed their love and affection for Wade, but they have written letters to the judge presiding over his case, begging him to spare Wade's life. Some of these letters began coming in before the summer of 2024, when Wade was officially sentenced to death for the murders.
In less than 30 days, a judge will decide whether Wade Wilson will spend the rest of his life in prison or be put to death. I'm Fox 4 senior reporter Caitlin Knapp, and since the trial started, I've been covering it every step of the way. And because of that, I found out that people have been writing to the judge from across.
Caitlin, a piece of advice: remove the bitch face and use a normal person face when you're reporting. I don't know what kind of person you are. You might be the nicest person ever. Lose the Karen bitch face. It's not a good look. And if that's your normal look, change it. It's not good for news. You just look angry all the time. They're like, you're just reporting something. Lose that. Not
across the country.
Dad, am I wrong? My media training says lose the bitch face.
In him to spare Wilson's life. Judge Nick Thompson has received more than 10 letters, some pages long. One person said in their 7-page letter, "Please let Wade live." Another, he is a human being.
Oh no, Wade, Mike, they used bubble letters for live. I don't see how the judge could not take this super duper uber seriously and let Wade out. Bubble letters? They wrote these ones bigger, and then for live, it's bubble letters. Guys, I'm becoming a Wade wife. That's it. I'm getting a sex change. I'm becoming a Wade with bubble letters. He's getting out, guys. We're all on the wrong side. We all need to reconsider our lives. Are you with me? Are you guys with me?
Wade live. Another, he is a human being who, despite his flaws, deserves mercy and the possibility of rehabilitation.
Most people who know the facts of Wade Wilson's case would probably agree that he never showed either of his victims any mercy when he brutally killed them, so it seems strange that so many believe that he should now be shown mercy by the legal system. But the admiration that Wade has been shown by his fans while he's been behind bars isn't limited to just those who have written letters on his behalf begging for the court to spare his life. There have even been online petitions started in an attempt to keep him off of death row.
On top of that, there are petitions online with more than 30,000 signatures asking the judge to spare Wilson's life. And though it's not clear if it's legitimate, someone started a Fundly raising more than $11,000 for Wilson's, quote, legal.
The Fundly is legitimate, and he's legitimately raised close to $100,000. That is true.
Medical support. So how much of all of this does a judge have to take into consideration legally? I talked to a lawyer to find out. The trial and conviction of Wade Wilson has gone viral. Now we wait to see if Judge Nick Thompson will sentence Wilson to life in prison or death.
The judge can go either way. He can say death penalty, or he can say life without parole.
FGCU professor and lawyer Pamela C. says despite the jury recommending death,
there's no mandate that says he has to do what the jury recommends.
Ultimately, as we know, the judge did decide to go with the jury's recommendation and sentenced Wade Wilson to death. So the answer of if those thousands of signatures on online petitions had any effect on the judge's decision would seem to be a no.
Since the recommendation, people from South Carolina, California, and as far as Canada are sending these letters to the judge, asking him to spare Wilson's life. Does the judge have to take any of that into account?
No, he does not. The judge has to take into account the recommendation from the jury and the factual information that is available to him from the trial itself, both the guilty phase and the penalty phase.
It is hard to say what it is about Wade Wilson that has so many people so obsessed with him, despite his shockingly evil past. Reports from the jail where Wade Wilson was held up until his sentencing have revealed that he received more than 4,000 messages in only a matter of months. Deputies say he also accepted 279 requests for communication and at least 754 pictures that people on the outside have sent to him. Since he has been sentenced to death, the massive public interest in his case doesn't seem to have slowed down much. What Wade Wilson can expect from his final days before execution, sometime in the future, when the date of Wade Wilson's execution has been...
what he's going to expect. Remember, he said when he goes to death row, he's pretty much going to be running it, right? Wade's words, not mine. He's going to be running it. He's going to have the guards and the other inmates just doing whatever he wants, bringing things in for him, doing stuff. He's going to be like the top guy there because, you know, there's no intimidating people on death row, right? There's not a bunch of other intimidating men on death row, right? So Wade's going to be running it. The guards are going to be doing his bidding. He's going to be living like a summer camp, according to him. Is that really what's going to happen? I don't know. Let's find out.
Been formally set, he'll end up being moved to a different cell. This one will be slightly larger than the one...
Yo, I just want to tell people, I do use sarcasm as a main part of my humor. I have received a few comments of a few people who don't realize when I'm being sarcastic. So I've been sarcastic this video, guys. Please don't leave me any mean comments thinking I'm seriously saying this stuff.
And he will have become used to, measuring at about 12 by 7 feet. This is what is referred to as a death watch cell. On the night before his execution, Wade will be allowed to make his request for his final meal. As of now, the way that Wade Wilson will be executed has not been decided. Because it will be taking place in the state of Florida, it will either be the electric chair or lethal injection. In recent years, lethal injection has become the most common execution method by far. In fact, many people consider the electric chair to be inhumane and reserved for only the worst of the worst criminals. But because Wade's crimes were particularly heinous, and because he has never shown any remorse, there are some people who do think he deserves to die via the electric chair. When the time for his execution does arrive, Wade will most likely be taken to the nearby Florida State Prison, which has a lethal injection room. If this does end up being the manner of execution the state settles upon, Wade will be strapped to a gurney with restraints around his wrists and ankles. He will get one last chance to speak to his lawyer and one last chance to...
Guys, remember when Wade said he could have been a walk-on for FSU? He actually meant FSP. He was mistaken Florida State University for being a walk-on, which he is for Florida State Prison. I think I'm realizing that now.
speak with a reverend or minister if he chooses to. Meanwhile, he will also be given a chance to say some last words before ultimately being injected with lethal chemicals. At that point, it will only be a matter of time before he takes his dying breath. Clearly, the Wade Wilson case is nothing short of shockingly evil and a pure tragedy. But the number of adoring fans who are obsessed with this convicted killer is perhaps the most shocking part of this entire case. Thanks for watching Anna Horror, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Until next time, sleep tight.
I mean, shout out to Anna Horror. It was a pretty good video. I mean, if you hadn't known anything about the Wade Wilson case, it's a great video to catch yourself up to speed and get all the little details. For me and for my audience, we already knew most of this stuff, so it wasn't anything new. But shout out to her. This video was well put together. The visuals were good. Everything was on point. I enjoyed watching it. Go sub over there. I'm sure she's got a lot of great content. Let me know what y'all thought about this video. I've got a lot of great content coming up. I hope y'all liked it. Like, comment, subscribe. It's been another one. Stay safe, stay blessed. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.